Donald Trump hot on the campaign trail. He's got a rally in Wisconsin this weekend. The rally had to move locations due to Secret Service staffing concerns. Secret Service admittingly complacent before the Trump rally shooting there a couple of months ago in Butler, Pennsylvania. The Secret Service under so much scrutiny right now. They can't afford to drop the ball again, Jerry. We'll go to Frank Roberson, who is a protection and counterintelligence expert. Frank, maybe just a little bit about you, your background, what it is you do, and then we could drill into some of the things we've seen out of the Secret Service and Trump's protection in the past few weeks.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Sure.
23 years executive protection. Advanced work is where... and team leader is where my expertise lays. I spent most of my time as an advanced guy. So this particular issue is important because this is where you learn to do better, whether I'm protecting someone with a threat here or reviewing what happened with the Secret Service issues and help share it with the viewers and the listeners.
And Frank, what does it mean to be an advanced guy?
So, for folks who haven't been around an event with an elected official that has protection, I'm the guy that goes out a week to 2 weeks, depending on the size of the event, ahead of time to lay things out, put the plans together. An example, I had a gentleman who had a direct threat against him for 9.5 years. So when we went to San Diego to visit his daughter, I was always down there a week in advance. I would check the hotel rooms. I had a dog with me that would sweep the room. I would go visit all the routes to our scheduled events. Anything that was unscheduled that would come up would be done inside the hotel that we were at because the hotel has already been advanced and secured. Hospitals, fire departments, and police stations are always checked to see which one is the closest. And one thing I found in my career, the fire department isn't always the closest one, isn't the one that responds first. And the agent that was in charge before I arrived had a different fire department. So the timing would have been off on how fast the response would have been if something had happened in the previous under the previous advanced team. But we go through everything. Our job is to put a plan together and then present that to the team and the driver and the team leader, the weapons specialist, the EMS guy, whoever we have on our team. And that's the plan. You're planning to keep your principals safe, but you're also planning to keep your team out of danger as well.
Sure. Frank, this is Jerry. So just a little quick background. I was a 97 Bravo, so counterterrorism, counterintelligence analyst in the service, couple deployments overseas as a contractor. So this is right up my alley. I love this stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
But when we look at counterinsurgency or anything like that, the assassination attempts against Trump were very crude. Like, it didn't seem like these were, we hear about these assassination teams. It was just some buffoon walked up with a gun. Or like at the golf course, how did this guy have an advance notice at this hole at this time? Some of these things don't make sense. It's when we think of assassinations, we're expecting Jason Bourne, and we're getting some knucklehead who how did he even get a chance to do this?
Yeah, we got amateurs that exposed, for years, and you can talk to this too. For years, we thought there was this bubble around these guys, the president, former president, and it was impenetrable. You couldn't get anywhere near it. And we have two amateurs that popped that bubble, and the American people are seeing how you can. And our adversaries, our foreign adversaries, imagine if either one of those had been a trained sniper. There would have been a backup probably somewhere. There would have been lost Secret Service agents. And then the director says, we've given him the level of the current president, current vice president. Well, if that's true, how in the world did they not protect the golf course? They've been there before. There have been agents stationed at the points where there are vulnerabilities. They didn't even go out and ask law enforcement to put 4 or 5 cars along the road. They don't have to shut the road down. Just put them along the sides of the roads where they would have stationed agents. Then the sheriff's department would have been happy to pony up some guys.
Frank Roberson is a protection and counterintelligence expert. Take us back to Butler, Pennsylvania. I know the president, former President Trump, has plans to go back there. Hopefully the advance team in this case takes care of that sloped roof that we heard so much about. Maybe take us back to that day on your overall assessment of what you saw and the failures that happened there. I know the Senate just released a scathing report on the incident there.
Well, any advance starts with a pre-advance in an office where you sit there and you look at aerials, you look at routes, you look at where things are on the map. And depending on if it's in the United States, about a week, week and a half, overseas, 2-3 weeks, you're doing this advance. So when you get there, you actually have a feel for the locations, and then you adjust for them. And the perimeter there was just ridiculously small. I mean, I don't understand how that happens. And then even if somebody had slipped through that part of it, if they had a counter surveillance team on the ground, they have guys walking through the crowds, walking around the buildings, walking around all that stuff that would see somebody, and that's their job, is to look for those people that are acting differently. And I don't care how well someone is trained, if you're walking through a crowd and you're up to no good, it's written all over your face. And you would counter surveillance teams inside the crowd and around that field would have been able to spot this guy too.
Doesn't the counter surveillance team, though, they're all responsible for like an area of view, right? An area that I can see, and a lot of those, almost all those areas should have overlap. So not only am I seeing mine, but I'm seeing a portion of yours, and the portion of yours that I'm not able to see, Nigel can see, but you can see some of Nigel's.
Correct.
So the fact that this guy was even able to be up on what they're calling a sloped roof, and we've seen all the videos in the world, it's not that sloped, but let alone with windows behind it, where you assume that somebody's in those rooms can see those windows. It seems like it's a complete failure. I mean, somebody should have been up on the water tower. It just really, really takes away the security that I get when I hear the name Secret Service.
You're right, and you communicate with the other areas and other sectors that your surveillance team is positioned, so you know what's going on. And my wife knows not a lot about security, just from being with me for forever. But the first thing she said, why wouldn't somebody be on the water tower? Because they could see the top of the roof. Yep. I mean, somebody who's watching the telecast could see that. I don't understand. The communication was a huge breakdown. The perimeter. The counter surveillance teams, the snipers, they only look out from where the principal is, right behind the principal, outwards. They don't look in. That was supposed to be someone on top of that roof doing that. And if you believe the report with the whistleblowers, they got off the roof because it was too hot. I mean, I don't get that, but complacency gets people killed.
Yep. What kind of recommendations? What kind of recommendations? Let's say you're in charge now, and we've had these two events. Is there anything that you would recommend, just off the top of your head? If we just change these one or two things right now, we'd see a big difference. Because I'm sure, it'd be easy to protect me, Frank, but I'm not going outside to rallies every single 3 days. That's got to be super hard to protect somebody like that.
Well, you got to break it down into parts. I'll give you an example. Churchill Downs has 150,000 people there. And I was with a family, sole practitioner, taking the billionaire lady there 3 years in a row. And it's a massive facility, but I broke it down to the 3 areas that she was going to go. And when I did that, it eliminated 90% of the facility.
Gotcha.
So if you start with an advance where you've picked a perimeter, but you still, an advanced plan is a living, breathing document. You go in there and you go stand on stage next in the facility, in the area that you're going to be, and then you double check what you have on your pre-advance and you make adjustments for it. No line of sight to the top of that roof. Okay, let's reposition somebody over 20 feet so he has direct line of sight to that. Why is there nobody up on the water tower? And we don't even know if the other agents on the advance team mentioned that to the lead advance or the team leader on the ground, and it got overruled. But I can't imagine, with the number of guys that are on the advance team at that level, somebody didn't mention the water tower and somebody didn't want to go back and double check. And the fact is, nobody in the command center to relay any LEOs on the ground to Secret Service, that information, that's mind-boggling.
Frank Roberson is protection and counterintelligence expert. We've been going through some of the troubles the Secret Service has been having lately. What would you say in your job, besides protecting the life of your client, but overall, the most important aspect of the job itself is what?
Is preparing for every eventuality. Okay. Because if the bad guy can think of it, or if I can think of it, the bad guy's already thought of it. Yeah. So I walk into a restaurant and with a client, I have to know I have to have an imagination. I remember that first press conference that the acting director did. He said it was a failure of imagination. Anyone that's ever done any advance knows exactly what that means. If you can't imagine somebody poking a rifle through a fence along the side of the golf course when your protectee is going to be sitting on the sixth green hitting some putts or chips, you don't have an imagination. And you have to be prepared for those kinds of things because the bad guys are already thinking about those things. They do as much advance work, if not more, than we do, and they only have to get it right once. We have to be there every single day and get it right and not miss something, you know. It's critical to get that done.
Well, that's one of the things I think. As much as we harp on or as much as I am right now harping on the Secret Service, it's much like the CIA, right? Like their failures are known, the successes aren't, right? So we don't know how many times these people have actually saved him. We just know these 2 times that something happened and it came to our attention.
I think it's important too to note that when we sit back and go back and forth on these things, kind of Monday morning quarterbacking it, and talk about things to do, it's not to place blame. It's got to be to be better. You know, they changed the way they do motorcades and open air cars when JFK was shot.
Hey, Frank Roberson is the protection and counterintelligence expert. I hope we aren't talking about this kind of thing anytime soon. It's kind of got me worried. I pray nothing else happens during the last few weeks of this campaign and anything afterwards. So, Frank, I hope we can talk again soon. Thank you so much. It's been fascinating.
Thanks, you guys, for having me. Appreciate you guys.